What would the world look like if oppressed peoples were actually empowered peoples who were empowered to live a life, a fulfilling life, not just for them or their families, but to fulfill the mission and purpose that they're capable of? So amidst all the conversations that are happening about equal rights and race relations and injustices in our country right now, I want to take a moment to step back and think about the big picture. Because the reality of it, as I'm listening deeper and appreciating all the conversations that are happening, is that there are so many layers. There are so many adversaries and opponents that we as a human race are up against. The biggest culprit of which is ourselves and our own doing. You see, when we talk about racism, sexism, genderism, people being oppressed for their sexual orientation, we talk about the climate, we talk about economic inequalities, we talk about hunger, genocide, all of these problems that many different people have their attention and their focus on. All of them contribute to the well-being of our society as a global race of people. And right now, when the loudest voice in the room is what's going on with race relations, what's happening to police and our black communities and the exchanges that have been happening that are just unacceptable, it's easy for other conversations to slide to the back burner. I don't know about you guys, but I almost completely forgot in the past couple of weeks that we have a very important presidential election happening in just a few months. How much of that has been spoken about? How much of that has become background noise? What about the demand right now to reduce our carbon footprints, to reduce the emissions that are eating away at our atmosphere, that are warming up our planet at rates that we've never seen in thousands and thousands of years? What about the inequalities that are happening in schools? All of these different problems, it's easy to lose sight of what it's all for. And all of them are equally important. Every single one of those conversations matters to me. And I know at this point that there are going to be folks who are on the front lines of each of these battles, fighting on behalf of what they believe in, what they believe is going to be what contributes to a better society. I was even thinking this week that so many of these fights that we have right now for equal rights, they would be irrelevant if we don't reverse the course of what's happening in our environment, and vice versa. If we don't figure out how to create a society where everybody gets to live in accordance with basic human rights, then what's the point anyway? And so I think it's important for all of us right now to recognize that we all have a unique role to play. Not every battle is ours. I get to ally myself with people and their causes, to stand behind them, but I really don't know the first thing about being a feminist. I don't know the first thing about fighting for women's rights. Personally, I'm not a gay person, so I don't know what it's like to fight for gay rights. I'm not a member of the LGBTQ community, but I do stand in solidarity with them and their desire for equal rights, to be treated as equals, to not be oppressed in their own ways. And so I was having a conversation the other day with a close brother of mine who has really helped illuminate my perspective on where I stand with Black Lives Matter and where I stand with a lot of these other movements that are petitioning for greater rights and equality in our country and across the world. A lot of confronting conversations, to be honest, too. And one of the things he told me is that the strongest thing that we can do is to become constituents for causes that we believe in, to become supporters of movements. That I don't need to be on the front lines of a movement that I don't know anything about, but I can raise my hand up in support and solidarity for those people to express themselves honestly and genuinely, to be heard, to be listened, to be treated fairly and just. And I think that that's what so many of us get to do. So many of us who don't know what it's like to be Black. So many of us who don't know what it's like to be gay. Those of us who don't have the scientific background to make a strong stand on behalf of our environment. And then beyond that, beyond just being allies and supporters of movements and messages, to actually start living in accordance with what we say we want the world to look like. Be the change you want to see in the world. How many times have we heard that? But how often have I failed to really live up to that? I'll be very honest and transparent. I've done a deeper and deeper inventory over the past couple of weeks of how I have been with my language, with my joking and my bantering with my own friends, with the things that I say, with the things that I believe, the things that I generally turn a blind eye to, because I write it off as harmless, making jokes and saying things that I wouldn't say in front of other people. Things that I wouldn't say in front of gay friends, things I wouldn't say in front of people of mixed races or colors that don't actually feel harmful to me, but the fact that they even come up in my mind is contributing to the same problem. The fact that I still buy things from the grocery store that are wrapped in plastic, and yet I say I want a safer and healthier planet for my kids to receive. How can I be doing better with that? How can I make my actions really line up with my words and my desires and my intentions? And I think this is a moment right now for all of us to reflect on that. How can we as individuals do better? Not just to say it, not just to post it on Instagram, not just to share the video on Facebook, but to actually be that version of the world that we want to see. The first thing that it requires, radical honesty. Let's not shame ourselves, but let's be honest if we haven't been living in accordance with what we say we want. Let's be honest if a lot of those things that we write off as harmless or not really making a negative impact, how many of those things are actually contributing to the problem, even if in a small way? Even if it doesn't harm someone directly, how is it contributing to the greater energy that is lent towards that fight, towards that battle? Be really honest with ourselves. And when we start catching those things, looking at it, appreciating it, feeling the pain and the sting of recognizing that I'm not who I said I was around this thing, and then be better moving forward. All of us get to be better. The only way that we get a better world for our kids is by being better right now. And so, yes, let's keep our attention on the things that are most pertinent right now, the things that are most loud, the things that most people care about in this moment, but not lose sight of the whole picture. Not lose sight of the forest by looking at the trees. And remember that we're all in this together. If we really choose to see it that way, we're all here on this one planet together. We have so many different problems to figure out, but the solutions are waiting right there if we could just figure out how to really work in unison, how to create a level playing field for all human beings so that every human being can contribute to their full capacity. What would the world look like if oppressed peoples were actually empowered peoples? Who were empowered to live a life, a fulfilling life, not just for them or their families, but to fulfill the mission and purpose that they're capable of, rather than just trying to survive on this planet. What does it look like if all of these 8 billion human beings were actually empowered and inspired to live a life that gives back, instead of being put in this situation where we always have to figure out how we're gonna get our own? How am I going to get mine to take care of myself and my family? I know it's not easy. It's confronting. And I'm asking these questions and saying them back to myself, because that's the biggest work that I need to do right now myself. And all of us get to lead from this position of honesty, of transparency and transformation. That's where we're going. I know that's where I'm going. That's where I want to lead my family to. And I know that a lot of you guys out there, that's where you want to go too. But it doesn't happen in a vacuum. We got to be in it together. We have to be courageous enough to say those uncomfortable things, to expose the wounds and allow the healing to occur, to admit that we've used racist words, racist mindsets, that we purchase things that are not healthy for the planet, that we have consumerist practices that don't support the future that we want to see. Admit it, own it, and then transform it. That's the opportunity right now. And so if you're vibing with that, if you're feeling it and you're ready to jump in even further than you have, because that's what I'm ready to do, then tell me in the comments. Tell me what you're going to do today to keep moving forward towards the person you want to be. And make sure you hit that subscribe button on this channel if you're digging what we're putting out. Please share these messages with all the men in your life so that we can keep spreading this Rising Man message and grow our capacity to influence in a positive way. Much love and blessings, family. Peace out.
Rise up.